How is it possible that a non-stealth fighter jet is still considered one of the most dangerous aircraft in the world compared to fifth-generation rivals? When discussing Russian military aviation, one name appears repeatedly in intelligence reports, Western analyses, and military exercises: the Su-35. For some, it's the last great fighter of the classic era. For others, it's a demonstration that extreme maneuverability and raw power still have a place in modern air warfare. The truth is, the Su-35 is not just another aircraft, nor is it simply an evolution of the Su-27. It's a statement of intent. Russia never envisioned the Su-35 as a temporary solution. From its inception, it was designed to be the most dominant fighter jet possible without resorting to complete stealth, embracing a philosophy distinct from the Western approach. While the United States focused its strategy on stealth and networked warfare, Moscow chose a different path: range, power, sensors, and extreme maneuverability. The Su-35 was born as a direct response to two realities. The first, the economic and technological impossibility of producing a stealth fighter comparable to the F-22 in large numbers. The second, the doctrinal conviction that air combat would not be decided solely by invisibility, but by the ability to control airspace at long ranges and survive close-range engagements. At first glance, the Su-35 commands respect. Its size, air intakes, enormous control surfaces, and muscular fuselage make it an intimidating presence even on the ground. But what truly defines it is not its appearance, but what it is capable of in the air. One of the Su-35's key strengths is its exceptional maneuverability. Equipped with Saturn AL-41F1S engines featuring three-dimensional thrust vectoring, the aircraft can perform maneuvers that defy conventional aerodynamics. Impossible turns, instantaneous changes of direction, and complete control even at very low speeds make it a formidable opponent in close combat. For Russian engineers, this capability is not a luxury, but a necessity. Their doctrine has always assumed that, sooner or later, aircraft will come face to face. In that scenario, maneuverability can mean the difference between life and death. But reducing the Su-35 to a dogfighting aircraft would be a serious mistake. The true power of the Su-35 lies in its long-range detection and engagement capabilities. Its Irbis-E radar, one of the most powerful ever mounted on an operational fighter, can detect targets at ranges far exceeding the standards of fourth-generation fighters. While not a pure AESA radar like those used in Western aircraft, its raw power allows it to track multiple targets simultaneously. In addition, it features an advanced passive infrared sensor system, IRST, which allows it to detect enemy aircraft without emitting radar signals. In an environment saturated with electronic warfare, this capability is crucial. The Su-35 can see without being seen, at least under certain conditions. Russia designed the Su-35 as a pure air superiority fighter, capable of escorting bombers, defending vast airspace, and facing multiple threats simultaneously. Its enormous range, thanks to its large internal fuel capacity, allows it to operate in regions where other fighters would need constant refueling. Another key element is its weapons load. The Su-35 can carry a wide variety of short-dash, medium-dash, and long-range air-to-air missiles, including models specifically designed to attack highly maneuverable targets or those with low signatures. In theory, they can launch attacks before the enemy even knows they are being tracked. From the Russian perspective, the Su-35 doesn't need to be invisible. It needs to be lethal, resistant, and adaptable. Here's where an often overlooked factor comes in: ruggedness. Russian aircraft have historically been designed to operate from less prepared runways, with more demanding maintenance, and in adverse conditions. The Su-35 continues that tradition. It doesn't rely on delicate coatings or highly specialized infrastructure. This makes it an ideal tool for protracted conflicts, where the air bases can be attacked and logistics become fragile. An aircraft that can continue flying when others must remain grounded automatically becomes valuable. However, The Su-35 also has clear limitations. Its radar signature is significantly larger than that of a stealth fighter. In a direct confrontation against modern detection systems and long-range missiles, this disadvantage is evident. Russia is aware of this, which is why the Su-35 was not designed to operate alone, but rather as part of a broader air defense network. In this scenario, the Su-35 acts as both hunter and guardian, operating under the cover of ground-based air defense systems and supported by long-range radars. It is not an aircraft designed to penetrate deep into enemy territory on its own, but rather to dominate key areas of airspace. Let's pause here to invite you to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this. Are you enjoying the video so far? The Su-35 represents the culmination of decades of Russian air combat experience. It doesn't attempt to compete with the West by copying its approach, but rather by offering an alternative. While some rely on stealth, Russia prioritizes visible deterrence and the capability for direct engagement. This aircraft also serves a political purpose. Every deployment of the Su-35, every international exercise, every potential export sends a clear message. Russia remains capable of producing top-tier fighters without relying on extreme stealth technologies. For years, the dominant narrative in the West has been clear: stealth is everything. Under that logic, an aircraft like the Su-35 should be obsolete compared to platforms like the F-35 or the F-22. However, military reports, international exercises, and operational experience reveal a much more uncomfortable reality. The Su-35 remains a dangerous adversary, even for fifth-generation fighters. The main reason is that modern air warfare is not decided by a single characteristic, but by the interaction of multiple factors: sensors, weapons, electronic warfare, doctrine, and, above all, tactical context. The Su-35 was designed to exploit precisely those gray areas where the stealth loses some of its advantage. One of the most underrated features of the Su-35 is its integrated electronic warfare suite. The Khibiny M system is not simply defensive equipment, but an active platform capable of jamming enemy radars, confusing guided missiles, and degrading the adversary's situational awareness. In an environment saturated with interference, even a stealth aircraft may be forced to emit signals that reveal its presence. Herein lies the first critical point. Stealth is not absolute invisibility. Stealth fighters reduce their radar signature, but do not eliminate it. At sufficient distances, with suitable sensors and in specific bands, they can be detected. The Su-35 is optimized to take advantage of these windows. Its combination of powerful radar, infrared sensors, and data links allows it to operate as part of a larger network. It doesn't need to directly detect an F-35 to become a threat. Receiving data from external platforms, ground-based radars, AWACS aircraft, or even other fighter jets, is enough for it to pinpoint its location and launch attacks. At this point, the Su-35 ceases to be an isolated aircraft and becomes a node. Offensive within a larger system. Another decisive factor is the range of its weaponry. Russia has developed long-range air-to-air missiles specifically designed to engage targets that's stealthy. These missiles do not rely solely on active radar, but combine inertial guidance, external corrections, and advanced terminal sensors. This forces Western fighters to maneuver defensively before they can enter their own attack range. In air combat, forcing the enemy to reacting is already a form of advantage. Furthermore, the Su-35 can carry a large number of missiles simultaneously, which allows him to launch saturation attacks. Although not all of them hit, they force the opponent to expend defensive resources, break formations, and lose the initiative. Here another common myth is shattered, that modern aerial combat is decided by a single perfect shot. In practice, saturation, sustained pressure, and endurance are equally important. If combat is imminent, the Su-35 enters its favorite terrain. In close-quarters engagements, its extreme maneuverability makes it an extremely dangerous opponent. The combination of thrust vectoring, advanced control surfaces, and a high thrust-to-weight ratio allows it to tow weapons at angles that other fighters cannot match. Even Western pilots have acknowledged, in simulated exercises, that engaging a Su-35 in close combat requires maximum concentration. A single mistake can be fatal. But perhaps the most important aspect is doctrine. The Su-35 was not designed to fight stealth fighters on equal terms alone. It was designed to operate under the umbrella of one of the systems of the densest air defenses in the world. In that environment, stealth fighters lose some of their operational freedom. Whenever an F-35 or F-22 approaches a defended area, it must balance stealth, sensor emissions, and survivability. The Su-35, on the other hand, can assume a more aggressive role, knowing it has ground support. This creates a dangerous dynamic. The stealth fighter, designed to attack, is forced to defend itself. The Su-35, designed to dominate areas, gains confidence and room for maneuver. There is also a psychological and strategic factor. The Su-35 is visible, and that visibility is deliberate. Its presence on patrols, in exercises, and in deployments acts as a deterrent. It doesn't operate in secret. It displays itself, challenges, and forces the adversary to react. In conflicts where escalation must be controlled, this visibility can be as important as actual combat capability. An aircraft that is seen, patrolling, and demonstrating capability sends a clear message without firing a single missile. Of course, the Su-35 is not invulnerable. In a direct, isolated confrontation against well-coordinated poachers, their disadvantages exist. But the war. Modern warfare rarely offers ideal fights. You fight with what you have where it is possible and under imperfect conditions. And that's where the Su-35 becomes dangerous. It is an aircraft designed to withstand, adapt, and punish mistakes. It does not rely on a single technological advantage, but on a set of capabilities that, together, they create a complex threat. For years, the dominant discourse in military aviation has repeated an almost dogmatic idea. Stealth is the ultimate destiny of fighter jets. Under that premise, aircraft like the Su-35 should gradually disappear, relegated to museums or second-tier air forces. However, operational reality is telling a very different story. The Su-35 not only remains in service, but occupies a central place in the strategy Russian air power. And this isn't due to technological nostalgia, but to a cold assessment of how real wars are fought, and will be fought. The immediate future of air combat is not defined solely by who sees first. It's not about who can sustain the combat effort, but about who. Modern conflicts show that wars between powers are not resolved in days, but in prolonged cycles of attrition, pressure, and adaptation. In that context, the Su-35 has advantages that many more advanced aircraft cannot match. One of these advantages is strategic flexibility. The Su-35 can perform multiple roles without requiring complex configurations. Air superiority, interception, escort, territorial defense, and air defense. It does not depend on an extremely fragile ecosystem to operate effectively. Unlike highly specialized platforms, the Su-35 can be rapidly deployed in various theaters of operation. Its autonomy, robustness, and reduced reliance on advanced infrastructure make it an adaptable tool, especially valuable for countries with large territories or hostile environments. But there is an even more relevant aspect. The Su-35 does not compete directly with fifth-generation fighters. It complements them. Even within Russian doctrine itself, the Su-57, the stealth fighter, is not intended to replace the Su-35, but to operate alongside it. In that scenario, the Su-57 penetrates, detects, and designates targets. The Su-35 protects, dominates, and strikes hard. It's a division of labor that reflects an uncomfortable truth. For many analysts, secrecy alone does not win wars. Another key element of the Su-35's future is its modernization capability. Unlike closed designs, the Su-35 was conceived as an evolutionary platform. Its electronic systems, sensors, and weaponry can be upgraded without requiring radical structural redesigns. This allows it to adapt to new threats, integrate more advanced missiles, and improve their electronic warfare capabilities over time. In a world where technology advances rapidly, the ability to upgrade is just as important as the initial innovation. There is also an economic factor that cannot be ignored. Stealth fighters are extraordinarily expensive to produce and maintain. Their numbers, even in powers like the United States, are limited. The Su-35, while not cheap, offers a cost-to-performance ratio that makes it attractive to both Russia and international customers. In a high-intensity conflict, where losses are inevitable, having a capable, numerous, and resilient fighter jet can be more decisive than having a small fleet of aircraft that are almost untouchable but difficult to replace. From a geopolitical perspective, the Su-35 also serves a symbolic function. It represents the continuity of the Russian school of aircraft design, a tradition that prioritizes power, maneuverability, and the ability to operate in extreme conditions. It sends a clear message that Russia is not prepared to blindly follow the Western technological path. This alternative approach has profound implications. It compels Western air forces to prepare for more complex scenarios, whether the enemy is neither an easy target nor an obsolete system. The Su-35 introduces uncertainty, and in war, uncertainty is a powerful weapon. Of course, the future also presents challenges. The proliferation of advanced sensors, long-range missiles, and autonomous systems will increase the pressure on non-stealth platforms. The Su-35 will need to continue evolving to remain relevant in increasingly lethal environments. The Su-35 is not a fighter jet of the past, nor a cheap substitute for stealth. It is a key piece of a different strategy, designed for a type of warfare that is not always. It appears in promotional brochures, but it defines the real conflicts. If you enjoy these in-depth analyses of military aviation and defense technology, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episodes. Your support allows us to continue exploring the most feared machines in the sky, without filters.